me and a friend of mine, Stacey, at the time, we went through so much trying to get into school as a girl because we had like a group of teachers that was like out to make sure that that wasn't going to happen. Well, we changed the face of the school by doing what we did because we were the first trans pupils to ever enter Calderside and make that stance. And so we're walking down Dumbarton Road, 4 o'clock in the morning with a stolen telly, and I thought she was just going to get into lost property and get me some clays that maybe somebody left behind, but she brings me a fucking forensic suit.
I know you are a reality TV star, and the first show you were on was Naked Attraction.
Yeah.
Talk me through that.
She wanted to rush me behind the curtain so she could part my lips and get like a proper look. And about 10 seconds before it, like I just had this bad feeling. I put on my seatbelt and then before I knew it, we crashed. Lois and my brother really tipped it over the scales for me, and it wasn't even less than a week after that I ripped my tag off. And I went on the run, and I stayed on the run for about 4 months. So he'd went and got me a tea towel in his living room, still gushing of blood. I'm like, look, you're going to need to phone an ambulance, like I'm losing a lot of blood. And then took me to court. The judge that was dealing with the tag case wasn't in, so I had to go straight to Pottenville, my first night in Pottenville ever.
Reality TV star Amira Nadeem, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jim King.
It's an absolute honour to have you on. Such a massive character, powerful story. But before we dive into it, right, because it's going to be fascinating to go through this story with you, Amira. Speak me through what you've got going on in the now and the present, what's happening in the world of Amira.
So I'm currently, in adult entertainment, and apart from that, I'm doing dressing services, for tea parties for tea girls, doing her makeup, doing her hair, getting all that stuff done. And then apart from that, I spend time with my cats and just get on with my life, trying my best to stay out of trouble,
I'm glad you said that, Amira, because I know we've had some trouble with you in the past, but as we get into the story, I'm sure you'll reveal some of that. So,
of course,
if you can now take me back to like the start, your first memories, first chapter.
First memories of, being young, growing up in Logan Street, Blantyre, quite a small town, but quite rough around the edges. Just, basically running up the street mad. I would steal my mum's dresses and dress up, because my whole trans background. Took my first bucket at 6 years old, apart from that. And basically, it wasn't, when I was younger, it wasn't like I had my mum and dad around me telling me, no, you're a boy, you can't do this. To me, it was just normal what I was doing, you know what I mean? And then it was quite like that because at nursery, my mum, she'd see me playing with the kitchen sets and stuff. So for about 5th or 6th Christmas, she got me a kitchen set and these plastic high heels. Can remember just running up and down the street with them, and then a pal I had at the time, she stole my Twinnies purse, and I remember grabbing her and swinging her about the hair. So I can say the craziness has always been there.
At such a young age, do you have the memories of way back then?
Yeah.
So your age, as you said, only young, age 4 up to age 6, going through all the changes, like dressing up as a girl, mixed emotions, but your parents, obviously your mum, just quite happy for you.
Yeah, she never I guess it's because when you're a child, do you know what I mean? I suppose nobody's going to pull you up for it. I guess I think it's just a phase. But mind you, I had really no inclination, even at that point, of where my life was going to take me. All I knew is what I liked and what I liked doing and stuff, and I'd never let anybody really stop me, hold me back from that,
And I know you had some trauma at a very, very young age.
Yeah.
Age 7, I'm sure.
Yeah, so from about age 6, I sort of tried to live my life normally as a boy, I guess you could say. But then I went through loads of different phases. I had a bit of a Nazi phase, a bit of a karate phase, and then in between all this, I was being abused, touched by a cousin of mine's. Not going to name names, of course. I wouldn't dive that deep, but I feel like it's a very important subject because it's so many people wouldn't talk about things like this because it's kind of like the shame. You know what I mean? I felt a lot of shame. At the time, it was like, I knew I couldn't tell my mum what was happening, like, but I didn't realise how wrong it was, what was happening to me, you know? And that continued till I was about 10, and then I started to wake up and realise what the hell's happening to me, and I told my mum. She put a stop to it, but I was just so scared at the time. I didn't want like police finding out or social work. I thought I was going to be taken away from my mum, and I didn't want that, you know.
But such a young age, so for age 10, or sorry, age 7 to 10, so that's 3 years again through that, and then you starting to reveal that to your mum, putting a stop to it.
Yeah.
Such a trauma to carry with you.
After it came out as well, like obviously it was just, like, you know, a lot of shame that I carried about with me for so long, you know. I suppose you blame yourself, you think, what could you have done? But I stopped myself one day and I realised, well, like, he was, like, the person in question, he was old enough to know the difference between right and wrong. I wasn't, you know, so even if I had asked for something, you know, I'm not legally capable to know what I want for myself at that age.
No, it's terrible.
But like, there's definitely a stigma, especially when things happen to you within the family, you know, that there's even more shame about talking out about it. And I don't ever really want that stigma to be in place, you know, for future generations.
It's good for you to speak about that live on the show, Amira. Well done for that. So
Thank
you get to age 10, 11, moving into high school, right?
Yeah.
I know you're fully dressing as a girl then.
Well, not quite so much. It was round about like halfway through high school because like my hormones started to kick in. I fancied a boy in my year, but I realised like I didn't want to be a boy to be with a boy. Like, I don't believe in gay sex or nothing. I never did. So I knew there was some steps that I was going to have to take. But I went through me and a friend of mine, Stacey, at the time, we went through so much trying to get into school as a girl because we had like a group of teachers that was like out to make sure that that wasn't going to happen. And we made 3 attempts of going into school dressed as girls, and first time we're not back. We got threatened if we didn't take off our wigs and makeup that we would be expelled. So I let that slide for maybe a month or 2 and then tried it again. Didn't happen, and I thought, I'm just not going to stop until this happens. And then round about the 3rd time we walked in, I seen the teachers grabbing her, and I thought, I'm not going to get caught. So I just like literally ran out the doors, fucked about for a while during lunchtime, and then I was quite close to school, and then the teachers seen me, and then they pulled me in. And then it was another, you know, it was another row about that. And then one teacher who actually had been observing us, it was actually the most hated teacher in school, but I'll never forget him, Mr. Gilkison. He took me into his office and he told me he'd been off the phone with children's rights, and they said to him I could have been dressing as a girl at primary even if I wanted to. But the teachers that were out to stop this, they already knew this, and they were trying to tell me, oh, you have to wait until you're 16 and with a letter from your parents. And after I found out all that information, I thought, sod this, now I'm really going in for the kill. And I even brought one of the teachers down tears, but when I went in and I told them I knew what the truth was, what the get-go was. But this is my life, do you know what I mean? So I don't get why she was the one in tears acting like the victim. So yeah, after that, nothing was stopping me and Stacey from going into school. She made the papers.
So see, when you were
for that.
starting to dress every day then, right, as a girl going to school, it must have been hard because I could imagine you are the first transgender girls in the school. Yeah,
we were the first.
The bullying, stuff like that for other pupils. What sort of experience was that like, Amira?
So, well, we changed the face of the school by doing what we did because we were the first trans pupils to ever enter Calderside and make that stance. And I'm so glad that it was us that went through that progress because we paved the way. Like, nobody in the future will ever go to that school, will ever go through what we went through. And I've got a niece that goes to my old high school, and there's been a trans pupil there every single year. So I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear that progression, because we changed it, from a basic school to a proper rights respecting school.
So you're saying your pal made the papers?
Yeah, she made the papers. I managed to avoid them at the time, but I was really proud of her. I was really proud of even her stance. Most people really thought that it was her, like, copying me at the time, but it wasn't really, like, in a sense, like, it was both something that just happened at the one time. We both were going through our own things in our life, and then she came out and I joined up. I lost a lot of friends because she wasn't really always the nicest to people, but I kind of thought for friends putting me in a position to choose between hanging about with them and her, like, if they were true friends, they wouldn't have put me in that position to begin with.
What about drugs and alcohol? I know you were saying 13, 14.
In between, like, high school and obviously the basic bullying, like tranny, this and that, I always learned to take things in one year and out the other, because, like, from a young age, I thought, fuck what people think, they're no paying my bills, they're no living my life, and when I'm dead, gone and buried, what were their opinions of murdered anyways? And so in between, high school, like, I got in with a group of friends, always house parties, the dragon soups and stuff, I was always a part of it.
You told me a story, and it was about a TV for the police.
Oh, right.
So
in between going to house parties, doing Frosty Jacks and whatnot, all the typical stuff you'd done, Stacey had actually met up with a trans girl that was very known in our area, Caitlin, her name was, and she was very well known in the papers. I knew about her before I'd met her. So she meets up with her, I end up meeting her, and then that's when things really began to get crazy. We were going into town dressed in nothing but baseball tops with a pair of knickers underneath. And this one night we were all out, we were drunk, and I started kissing this guy at the pub. Like, he was outside the pub, and I was just had a drink in me, baseball top. And then his woman, I sort of have a vague memory of her being sort of quite close by and doing some shouting, but I wasn't giving a fuck at that point. And then straight from behind me, I feel Stacey ripping the knickers. Now, granted, at that time, I had the other parts. So obviously, not only did the knickers come off, but when I stood up, some things were definitely dangling a bit below. So Caitlin, she was always one for jumping into people's cars, and there was like these Turkish guys that stopped, and she decides to jump in the car, and of course we didn't want to be walking about come this point, so me and Stacey jump in, and we're in the car for driving for ages, and then eventually Caitlin starts an argument with the driver, and he fucks us out onto the streets. And I didn't know at this point in time, but later on we found out we're on Dumbarton Road. And when we got fucked out of the car, Caitlin decides to run up to the first drunk guy that she sees. And then she signals to me and Stacey, right, you two follow me. So we follows her, we gets into this house, and there's like a big 55-inch telly. And there was Norbert playing in the telly, and she tells us to wait there. She was just going into the bedroom with the guy. So me and Stacey watching Norbert, and then eventually, about must have been half an hour to an hour later, she comes through, unplugs the TV, asks me to get the doors, and fucking Stacey to help her. Now, see, at this point, I'm just thinking about really wanting to get home, I'm exposed down below, it's no gone a great night for me. But so we leave the house with the telly, we get down to the bottom of the close, and she's on the phone to her papa saying, oh, Papa, I've been raped, I'm with my two pals, you're going to have to come pick us up. And her papa's screaming on the phone, you're fucking on the phone every weekend with this to me. So he refused. So we're walking down Dumbarton Road, 4 o'clock in the morning, with a stolen telly. So we managed to sit at a bus stop, and I seen a black cab, managed to flag it down. We all gets in the back, and just as we gets in the back, I hear Caitlin turn to the driver and say, can you take us to the nearest police station? And I'm thinking, why the fuck is she saying this? Because we've just stole a telly. So we gets to the police station. I knew Nanny has had a pound between us, and I just said to the guy, look, you're not getting paid. He never even argued with us. We just got out and he drove away. The police station, all the lights were out. I thought, oh fuck, what we gonna do now? And then before we knew it, these two police officers came out like in their car and then stopped us. And she runs up and says to the police people, oh, I've been out all night with my boyfriend driving in the car and he's fucked me out with my telly and my pals. Could you take us home? So I'm like, oh my fucking gosh. And obviously the police woman seen that I was quite exposed. I was like, can you please help me with something? And I thought she was just going to get into lost property and get me some clays that maybe somebody left behind. But she brings me a fucking forensic suit. So like literally getting so Caitlin wanted to drive like the police to take us to hers. So I asking the police to drive us home with a stolen telly. How much barefaced could you get than that?
Did they drive you home with the telly?
They drove us about a block away from the flats that she was in. She didn't exactly want them knowing which flat she stayed in. So we get us in there, and obviously they drive away, do whatever. Next morning we had to obviously manage to try and bump her way on the bus, and I'm still in this forensic suit. Just
Wait, did you at this time, Amira?
I was about 15.
So I mean, it's crazy at that age, isn't it?
Yeah,
you're going through all these
15. But I couldn't stop. Like, I felt guilty because I've never been a thief or nothing. But I couldn't stop thinking about the guy, thinking, oh gosh, he must have woke up the second morning and been like, where the fuck's my telly? He's probably phoned the police on Dumbarton Road. They've came out and he's had to tell his story. Like, I had 3 lasses in here and I've woke up with a telly, and it's probably been fucking the same officers, and they're probably thinking, fuck, we drove 3 lasses in there.
They were an accessory to the crime.
Aye, basically, yeah.
So,
but it was many years ago now, so I don't think I'll get much stick talking about it now.
No, I'm sure you'll be fine. So moving into age 16 then, right? I know you started on like the hormone drugs.
Yeah, hormone therapy. I wasn't allowed to start them till I was 16. But that was the rules. You know what I mean? I wanted to start them basically about 11. And because I refused, I had a friend that she would sell me her birth control like a £5 a strip. No, I didn't really get that much money, growing up and stuff. So I managed to just gather as much aside as I could in order to pay for these strips. Because I was watching a documentary on ladyboys, and all the ladyboys in Thailand, like, you can get into a pharmacy and buy anything. So they could buy hormones, but they chose not to. They chose to buy the birth control because it helped kick in your hormones more. And when I took them, oh gosh, I was noticing results straight away, like sensitive nipples, the lot. But I was loving it. I was just rolling with it, kind of hoping the supply would never stop.
I think it's because your whole life has been building up to that, to be a girl,
definitely.
to be a woman.
No, because they were always saying, like, oh, you're going to have to wait till you're 16 and you're going to have to go through, like, a process of counselling. And I'm thinking, why do I need to sit and explain myself or try and convince somebody what I am? I already know who I am and what I am. You know what I mean? And no regrets.
So moving on, right? I know you are age 17 when you went to Magaluf.
Yeah.
But you were only going as like a rep.
Yeah, a rep. It was about maybe a month or 2 before prom. I stayed all the way to 6th year, saved up all my EMA money, and was ready to take on the big world in Magaluf. Was supposed to be out there like a whole season, but only lasted, a month and 3 days. I ended up getting acquainted with 2 Scouse boys. They were in the apartment below me. And then that was like, my introduction to cocaine and, partying and stuff. And I just went with it. It was literally me and another 17-year-old girl. We were like the only 2 17-year-olds. And she was nearly just as crazy as me. I mean, she got fucked in the whole strip, and for everybody to see. So I thought that was great. But then she was sitting complaining about think it was the fact that she got videoed, and I kind of went out and said to her, well, like, if you're going to fuck in the street, then what the fuck are you complaining about getting videoed for? You know what I mean? I wouldn't have minded.
I take it the videos were getting shared everywhere. Is that what it?
Yeah, like it was kind of the talk. It was kind of the talk of the strip for a few days amongst all the workers.
Still really young, but aren't you 17? Or the chaos, or we know what goes on over there. You came back from Magaluf, and I know you get into a relationship.
Yeah, I did for about a year and a half. First 4 months, it was the first 4 months into it, like that's when like abuse started happening, like I was getting domestically abused, hit and stuff. And I was only 17, just about to turn 18, and you know, it was my first boyfriend, so I was quite young and stupid in the head, and I stayed with him. I took what was happening to me. My mum always told me when I was growing up, like, for a man to accept me, it would need to be a really special man. So I kept that in my head the whole time, and I brushed everything aside because, you know, despite he was hitting, abusing me, doing all this stuff, I just kept in my head, well, he must be special because he wants me, he's proud of me, he's proud to show me off, which was something that I hadn't had up until that point, because like obviously guys would want to go with me, but they wouldn't want to be seen with me, you know, they'd be too ashamed. And I was young enough to realise, like, if a person's ashamed to show you off publicly, then you should be ashamed to give them your heart privately, you know. So I never really bothered about those, like, one-off flings, you know. But when it came to my first ex, Brendan, yeah, meant a lot for me, just to be accepted and have somebody that was proud of me. But, you know, I was, you know, only lying to myself, you know, for so long. Because in a sense, it wasn't really me that he wanted, stupidly what I thought. He just, like any other domestic abuser, they just want somebody to control.
It's a hard thing to go through, Amira. But it's amazing that you can speak about these things because you've been through so much.
Yeah.
So I'm going to step you on to another time in your life, right, that would totally change, but it was what it was building up to for all the years from childhood. You're wanting to become a woman. 2018. You're getting in for your sex change.
Yeah.
Talk me through those
October
emotions.
2018. Oh gosh. It was just was it like, see, to be honest, I knew that this was definitely the right decision for me. And I knew should anything go wrong, then at least I'll go to heaven as a girl. And when I went in and it actually did happen, I was in so much pain, you know, I think it was the first 3 days I was in a lot of pain, so much so that I did actually think the surgeon had done something wrong and that I was going to die, but I was in that much pain, I didn't even want to call my mum to say the last words. I would just wanted God to take me away peacefully. And then, of course, after the third day, I started coming at myself. Wasn't till the fifth day. The nurse, she came in and undressed me, so I finally got to see myself down below. It was quite swollen, but she, just the look on the nurse's face, I'll never forget it. She just looked at it and she looked at me and I was like, oh, what's this going to be? She says, I've dealt with 12,000 patients in my whole career, and she says, yours is one of the best for you that I've ever seen, like it was actually meant to be. So that was good for me. Obviously, I'm just like buzzing that, you know, I've gotten past this part, the hard part, you know. Just ready, you know, to live my life. But yeah, I had to learn how, but it was basically like almost like being born again. You've got to learn how to pee and stuff, and they weren't actually going to allow me to leave the hospital until I could pee and defecate.
When did you really get to see it yourself and were really happy with it?
Yeah, I was really happy. I remember I was on the phone, like, FaceTiming my mum and all that, showing her, do you know what I mean? You know, just showing it up. And then my pal Louise was like, oh, fuck, it looks awful like mine's at the time. Now, I had a bit of weight on me back then, and I thought, Jesus Christ, I've never seen her fanny, and it got me all for curious.
Fuck's sake, Amira. But you nearly had me blushing there. Almost.
I have that effect.
So now we're going to be moving into your costume change. So we're going to cut it the now, right? because we're now getting into the naked attraction thing.
Okay.
2019. Right, so here we go. We're back, Amira, and we've both had a costume change.
Indeed.
You're looking absolutely fabulous.
Thank you, as do you, handsome.
Oh, thank you very much, Amira. I'm starting to blush now.
It's the Jim King show.
It certainly
You're allowed
is.
to.
It certainly is. So, moving on in the story, right, Amira? I know you are a reality TV star, and the first show you were on was Naked Attraction.
Yeah.
Talk me through that.
So basically, like, after I broke up with that first ex, I'd finally got my freedom back, and I thought, you know, I'm just going to get out there and just do my own thing. And I was already proud to have what I had, my vagina. Obviously, I kind of wished I'd went on at the time with my boobs and whatnot, but I feel like it happened at the right time. Went down to Manchester, had an interview, had to stand about a full hour naked in front of these producers or whatever they were, and just telling my whole life story, and they absolutely loved it, and they couldn't have got me down quick enough and kept me down there, I guess you could say.
That must have been some experience. So I've never had an interview like that before, Amira, where you actually need to stand naked and they're asking you questions.
Yeah, literally.
How many people were doing the interview?
Two. I get just a female, and I can't believe I forgot their names. I'm very bad with names.
What sort of questions were they asking you?
Well, basically, to be honest, I pretty much was given like my whole life story, you know, and about my transitioning and where I was up until that point, and they were happy enough to go ahead. I'd got asked questions like, you know, like what kind of ages of the guys that were going to be that I wanted, but when I ended up on the show, like the guys were like nowhere near the age that I'd picked. Between it was between like 20 and 30. There was some guys in there about 40, you know, in their 40s and stuff.
I don't really watch it, right? I've watched your episode, obviously, because I wanted to see what it was like, and you were brilliant in it. Right? Can you speak me through that experience then? So how does it work? Yeah,
so basically, like, see, the main question I always get asked, did I get paid for it? Well, I didn't. I'd got like £600 in expenses. Not that very much, but I got my hotel paid for me, which was based right in Media City, where the studios were. My studio was right next to Jerry McHale's studio, but obviously it was done by that point in time. But it was a great experience. I can remember when I was going down just before filming, Anna Richardson was standing with some penis slippers on, you know, like giving it loudy. Nothing compared to how she keeps it when we're on TV. Do you know what I mean? And I thought, fuck's sake, man, if only she had this type of attitude while she was on with, I guess, you know what I mean? She has some crack, I must scare that.
Did you have a wee chat with her backstage?
Yeah, briefly, but the main chat came after the show was done, because she wanted to rush me behind the curtain so she could part my lips and get like a proper look. And I remember she was like with one of our other staff members, take me behind the curtain. She's like, fuck's sake, that looks proper real, that done it. Honestly, she cracked me up so much, but being on the show, like, it was joyful, but I was also quite fearful on the inside, you know. I remember I was like pure trying to hold my belly in, but the more I was holding my belly in, my arse was getting in, and nothing just it wasn't looking right for me. But overall, I kind of almost cringe when I see that episode, because I'm so different now compared to how I was when I was on there, you know.
So what about the guy that you picked at the end then? What was he like? Was that a good match?
Yeah, he was good. Obviously, in the future, I'd done like the Eating with My Ex, a catch up. But yeah, he was a really, really nice guy. But you know, some people are for you and just some people aren't. And he actually has a child now, and I'm so happy for him. And I think if I'd stayed with him, you know, I could have prevented that, as I can't have children, but all the working's right, you know, I can orgasm and stuff, you know. Ain't nobody complained yet.
We'll move on now, Amira, right, before it gets too graphic.
Of course.
We don't want to have to cancel this now. I might need to go up the road. So
and do what?
We're moving on, Amira, right? We're moving on. So when you came back up the road, I know you started getting involved in some serious stuff, right? That wasn't really your fault. So there was a taxi incident. And it would end up...
so this is basically before I was filming for Eating With My Ex. It was actually the week before, and I'd had a house party, invited 2 male friends of mine down. Everything was okay. I could tell like there was something not quite right with them, a little more beyond just being drunk. But I didn't pay no mind to it. I got myself drunk. They decided to leave, I think about half an hour into it. I had a house full of people, mostly girls. They were like the only 2 boys there. Handsome they were. Still are. One's actually passed away now. So yeah, they decide to leave, go up the road, and then I get a phone call like roughly about an hour later, and by this point I'm already half cut. I've went and changed into one of my Pakistani suits, and they call me to say they're outside. Would I go and get them? So I goes out, and as I go, they're kicking fuck this Asian taxi driver. Well, typically I would say Paki because I'm half Pakistani. I don't class it as racist. I just class it as like, well, you know, Scots short for Scottish. You know what I mean? So they were literally kicking fuck out of him. So my immediate, I don't jump people. So my immediate reaction was just to get in between that and split it up. But just as I did that, my pal, he'd got into the driver's seat. So I'd opened the door directly behind him, you know, me with a drink in me, thinking I could save everybody. I was like, look, come on, you don't need to do this. Come to my house, I'll hide you if need to be for the police. And before I could even get my foot out, he fucking drove after me. I later found out he was full of Valium, and that explained it all. So we're just driving down Rutherglen, and I swear I just had, like, I was screaming, let me out, but I knew this wasn't going to end up well.
So he stole the taxi?
He stole the taxi, with me in it.
What happened?
Well, he'd zoomed all the way down Rutherglen, like past Spring Hall, all the way to like this pharmacy in Burnside. And about 10 seconds before it, like I just had this bad feeling. I put on my seatbelt, and then before I knew it, we crashed. All I can remember is like the bag, the dust, everything. It was fucking horrible. I was marked in my neck here, there. By the time I'd got out the car, he'd fucked off. He was nowhere to be seen. I'd looked around to see if he was all right. And I had to walk up the road, basically my bare feet wearing this shawarkamis. And the police were all driving past me, but they didn't get to me until I got up. I just couldn't stop greeting. I was in a lot of shock, you know what I mean? I mean, my life practically flashed before my eyes. And obviously I knew I had the filming coming up. They literally took me to the police station that night, treated me like an absolute criminal. You know what I mean? I didn't even have money to get back home. But just as well, I had a pal in Govan because he took me to Govan police station, and I had a pal in Govan that was able to help me out, and I could get home. But managed to clean myself up just in time for the filming with Eating With My Ex. But when I went on, I'd been asked a question, which was the same as I'd asked before I got filmed for Naked Attraction. Did I have a criminal record? I didn't on Naked Attraction. I didn't up until that point of the filming with Eating With My Ex.
But it's right. So see, before we go into Eating With My Ex, what was the outcome then?
The outcome, well, basically what had happened was my whole point about going on it with the guy that I met on Naked Attraction was there was people saying really horrible things about me on Facebook, and he was sort of liking our comments, and I thought, despite I had lied and said I was seeing someone else, you know, just to kind of save myself explaining too much, I thought, no, fuck this, I'm going to really let the truth rip on this. And that's what I did. I let the truth rip. We're still obviously, we still get on with each other, you know what I mean, from afar. But I did think it was very two-faced to him, and had it been people writing stuff about him, I wouldn't have stood for it, and I certainly wouldn't have joined in any sort of way, because that's just me.
What was your experience on Eating With My Ex, and did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was good. Well, lovely meal and whatnot. I mean, I think people's favourite part about it is when I'd ask for the bill, because really what it all came down to was I was not in adult entertainment. I wasn't doing anything. I was like basically on the brew at the time, and I'd went down for a weekend with him, spent all the money, like drugs, drink, even takeaways. That didn't bother me. But it gets to the Sunday and he's like, do you want to go to McDonald's? And I thought, well, maybe he's treating me. But we get there and then he asked to split the bill for a McDonald's breakfast. And I was that affronted that I just took the money out of my bag and I says, here, get yourself whatever you're getting and get me whatever. So I was like a wee bit, fucked up about that situation. But then it gets to Sunday as well when I'm about to leave to go home, and he had a bottle of vodka, this big bottle of vodka, and one of his pals had gifted it to him, but he doesn't even drink vodka. So I'd been sort of sitting on and off this fruit that weekend. But then when it comes to me going home, I says, I take it you'll be wanting your vodka back. And he's like, I just save it to next time you come down. So
where was he from, Amira?
He's from Darlington, so it's quite close to Newcastle. His family, all great and lovely people, but his mum did sort of let me in and something like, she told me that he had like a hairdresser that came over to the house to cut his hair, and he didn't even tip her. And like compared to what he had like, well, basically what I'd say is a boathouse. He had a car. He had a lot more gone for him than what I had. And I kind of felt just like the selfishness or the tight-fistedness. But it all sort of came to head. At some point during that weekend, he kept talking about this show that I'd never seen in my life, Only Fools and Horses. And they started a show, Del Boy, who is basically like his absolute idol. I'm sitting watching it and I'm noticing this fucking cunt's a tight-fisted bastard and all. Put two and two together. I was like, nah. I mean, I couldn't imagine going to a fucking out to eat with him and then what's he going to be stealing the fucking salt sachets, taking this and that. Now, mind you, I'm a person that doesn't give a fuck, but come on, there is a line.
I really enjoyed Only Fools and Horses. That was one of my favourites as well.
I'm not going to lie, it personally wasn't for me.
But I'm a miserable bastard, right? So if we do go out for a meal, then in fact you're treating me to one, you said.
I'm treating you.
Maybe I'm a miserable bastard.
But that's because I've got it now. Like back then I kind of thought, fuck's sake, not only did I pick you, but I thought the least you could fucking do was buy me a McDonald's breakfast, especially since you were the one that offered to go to McDonald's, you know what I mean?
You picked a wrong guy there, right? But anyway.
Well, but still, apart of putting that all aside, he was a good guy. You know what I mean? Just putting that aside,
so
because I'm not a fucking gold digger, do you know what I mean? But just the bare minimum.
At least you've sent the message out now to him. And he'll be watching this, do you know what I mean?
Sorry, Steve.
Steve might be watching Only Fools and Horses and then this might clip on. But anyway, we're moving on now, right? 2021. Magaluf Weekender. Talk me through that.
Well, basically, I'd actually went to Magaluf. Well, I'd started at Adult Entertainment August 2020, and within that first month, I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to get myself. I was due to get my boob job in October, so I thought, right, I'll get myself on it twice, once before, and the second way the boob job. I went there. It was good fun, staying in the villa. Obviously, I was quite peed off that the filming got cut because I kind of felt like the show has been on air for God knows how many years. I watched it in high school growing up. So, like, the filming got cut for COVID. Okay, it is what it is. I took it for what it was then. I enjoyed my time in the villa. Jordan Davis. Well, when I grew up watching him, he was a bit of a man-whore, you know what I mean? Always in about the birds. But I was really shocked at how classy and presentable he kept himself. He had a girlfriend. She wasn't even staying in the villa ways, but he didn't even look at one girl. We'd actually had like a bit of a conversation, outside, and we were talking. I told him about, my TV stuff, and I was asking him about, so what's the script, with Magaluf Weekender? Like, would you even get paid per day for filming? And he said it was like something like €50. He's like, how most celebrities make their money is through like promotions. So I kind of thought, well, I'm not exactly that famous, not as famous as you. So how the fuck am I going to be able to keep face and still be doing what I'm doing? So that's when I decided, well, just keep with adult entertainment.
Who else did you meet over there? Was it the Big Brother winner? What was his name?
Oh, David, well, I didn't meet him till the year after.
Is this when you came back?
Yeah, this
So
is
see
when
when
I
you-
came back, and I was expecting, right, things are going to go ahead as planned, but the filming got cut this time. But, oh, fuck, David's a great laugh, you know what I mean? Like, we were all fucking in the line, taking lines in the toilet. And then I remember sitting outside having a drink with her. I was fucked, man. And then... like there was a guy that kept pestering me, and I just decided to say, look here, sweetheart, I sell myself, you know, and I thought I would just maybe fuck him off, but not. He came back with, well, €450, so that was me. I had to cut the night short with all the reps and what I was doing, and I thought money
I'd have done it for 300.
money talks and the bullshit walks.
So the first part on Magaluf Weekend, right? You left there and you went and got your boob job.
Yeah, so come the time, obviously I was going for the second time, filming got cut again, same COVID, and I kind of thought, like, what kind of fucking show is this? Shouldn't you have like a backup crew in case incidents like this? And not only that, it was costing me, what, £400 going between Magaluf and back home and COVID tests. You know, what I thought was really fucked up.
So you went, what was your experience of getting your boob job then?
It was good. Was in a lot of pain. Was in a lot of pain. At that point in time, I'd actually was getting harassed by these two police officers. I think one of them was related to a neighbour that didn't like me, just simply for the fact I'd never spoke to this neighbour, but
You told me there was an instant they came to your house and they were a bit rough with you and you just had your boob job, is that right?
well, yeah, I was still in recovery, but this was going over a course of weeks. But it wasn't until I was laid up in recovery and they came that time, and he came in and he got into my pal Katie's face, and she wouldn't say about a fly, and that's what made me lose the rag. And I got up and I said to the prick, I hope you die of COVID. But then what he went in, I was just doing a lot of shouting. I did turn my head to cough, because, you know, when you're shouting, you know what I mean, sometimes, you know, your throat tickles a bit. But I'm not even in the direction of them. But what they decided to put in their statement, well, they threw me onto the bed, cuffed me. My mum, my dad was there. They put into their statement that I had went to the door and answered it and immediately started getting abuse. That wasn't true, because it was my stepdad that answered the door. So I knew the police were corrupt bastards, but I never really realised it until what I was in about with these two in particular. So I pushed me on the bed, cuffed me, took me to Rutherglen. The guy put in his statement that I'd wished him and his family died of COVID. No, see, if I've got a problem with somebody, I've got it with them. I'm not going to bring people into I don't know people's families. That's just no fucking me. And the point is, says I coughed in his face. You know, there's a part of me that really wish I had, because then at least I'd got done with something I actually did. My first fucking criminal record, basically for something I didn't even do. But I have learned one valuable lesson for this. If I ever get any shit for the police coming up to me again, I will swallow any amount of shite they've got to give me if I know I'm walking away without a court case.
That's it. You just killed them with kindness, Amira.
Exactly.
Right? So you're learning.
Yeah,
right?
you know,
it's great
that's
to
it.
hear
You know, you learn from your mistakes. But
see that evening, right? So you were obviously jailed, cuffed. You told me, was it Cottonville you went to?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, basically what happened was, right, this was like quite a bit of time after the tag got put on. I was just going through a lot of stuff. I'd lost my sister-in-law 4 months prior to suicide.
Right.
So I was taking that quite hard. And then my ex got out of jail on 1st of July 2022. And we were just sitting full of coke, and he lost it. Thought I was committing infidelity outside my work stuff, and I genuinely wasn't. And he lost a rag. He smashed one of my pictures and stabbed me in the back. Literally, I've got a scar in my back. I always have it now. And then he backed me into a corner and, you know, asked me if I had any final words. I'm not really want to get too much into that part, because it was really traumatising. But it proceeded to smash me or the head with a vodka bottle and stick it in the side of my head. And to think if if he had killed me, it would have really all been for nothing anyways. But there was blood gushing down my body. I'd only had on a pair of knickers, like near their clothes. There was like, and then he did say after he did that, I'm going to allow you to leave with your life. And I just seen my chance. I ran for the door, and I just screamed the whole street down where I was staying in Rutherglen, and I was just running, chatting all these doors, and eventually one guy opened it, and he just kind of thought I was just in some sort of fight. He was kind of like, I don't know, I see, because the guy had just woke up. I don't think he said was on about it. So he'd went and got me a tea towel in his living room, still gushing of blood. I'm like, look, you're going to need to phone an ambulance, like I'm losing a lot of blood. And just as ambulance showed up, the police showed up, and then, you know, quickly told them what had happened. They caught him straight away.
Did you have your tag on at that
Yeah,
point?
I had my tag on. So I was laid up in hospital for about 3 days, and I had Belfast on the 12th of July, and I knew I wasn't going to make that because of the tag, but actually what he did to me gave me the opportunity, because whilst the tag people thought I was in hospital, I'd actually just decided to go because I'd basically bought the trip for my family, you know, my mum, my stepdad, my pal, Herwins. I even rented a townhouse over there for us.
Did you rip the tag off? How did you get
No,
off?
I didn't rip the tag off at this point. Like when I was, I had the tag whilst I was over in Belfast, because obviously they thought I was in hospital, but I was really in Belfast.
Was that famous?
Probably the furthest anybody's ever travelled in Britain with a tag on their leg.
That's crazy, because there's a famous photo of you. I don't know if it's related to when you were in Belfast, but when you're on the pole at Blantyre Station.
Oh, right, yeah.
That's a cracker, isn't it? Is that an old photo?
Yeah, no, actually, I would say no. That's sort of in between the time of me coming back from Belfast. Belfast, that had happened, the poll. But basically 2 weeks after, or not even 2 weeks, like, but the 19th of July, so I'd came back on the 14th. I was sitting full of coke, just with a couple of pals. I was even smoking a coke. Not a proud moment in my life, but
you see, 2022, that round about then, isn't it? And you come back, then something tragic happens in your family. Right?
Yeah, well, loss of my brother really tipped it over the scales for me, and it wasn't even less than a week after that I ripped my tag off, and I went on the run, and I stayed on the run for about 4 months. I'd rented a house.
See, before you tell me that story, can you talk me through your brother's suicide?
Well, because I'd lost we'd both lost somebody that we loved 4 months prior. He just couldn't really handle life. You know, he had his own drug problems, you know, sniffing, smoking coke, same as me. But the funny thing is, we weren't doing it together. We were doing it separately, but we're in sort of set of pals, you know. It was weird how it happened. You'd think after losing a sister-in-law that there would be enough signs there for you to, like, realise when it's coming again. But what I think I kept with me was, he said he never had the bottle, he wouldn't have the bottle to do something like that to himself. So I just kept that with me. It was shock and horror, I must say. And well, I can't take back the past, but I definitely did know round about these stages that if I didn't get off what I was on, that was the same road I was going to go down, and I wasn't willing to put my family through any more than we've already been through.
Definitely, it's such a tragic thing for any family, and it's so rife, and not a lot of people like to talk about it, Amira, so well done.
Thank you.
For that. So you were on the run, right? You were on the run, you ripped the tag off. The Bad Girl, it's like something out of the TV show Bad Girls, especially obviously being in Cottonvale and stuff like that. If you want to, are you all right to continue?
Just give me a moment.
Take your time, darling, you're all right.
Yeah, so I'd went on the run like for 4 months straight, and all I did when I'd rented that place was I was with one of my friends, and she had been dating a millionaire for about 6 years. He'd bought her a house, and just as I'd went on the run, he'd put her out. So I said, just come with me. And he'd already had her on about $4,000 a week crack habit, you know. So that's how he was keeping her under control. But he had a wife, and the wife found out everything had been going on because he'd went and slept with another friend of ours, and it just all came out. So he had to put her out and cut contact with her for the sake of saving his own marriage and his own reputation, I guess you could say. So she was with me, and all we kind of done, she was in a really bad depression. So I worked for us, but it was just crack day in, day out. And I kind of hoped that us going there, it would be for the betterment, but it wasn't it. It wasn't to be. So after about the 4th month, I had enough. 11 the way I was living. I was making all this money on a night, and then come the morning, I'd have nothing to show for it because of how much we'd actually went through. And I even found myself raiding for takeaways that were like nearly 2 days old just for something to eat, to put something into my belly. I wasn't 11, and I was just taking all the coke, you know, to forget everything that was going on, but I was just waking up with more problems, you know.
So it's difficult, but I think when you're in that kind of life, you're living that life of addiction and chaos, you don't have any other thoughts than
than just
high.
try to block it out. But then what you do with that, you're just causing yourself more problems,
more pain, Amira. So
glad to be sitting here a year and a half off it, but you know, and my body feels good for it.
You're
you know,
looking fabulous.
I put on a bit more weight.
So see, when did you get caught then? When did you get...
So I got caught in December. Basically before I had went and rented that house. I'd stayed with a friend, you know, Faldel for a week, and you know, the dealer was coming over to the house, and I'd basically just I'd noticed that I was putting my money through in a living room, and I noticed there was like £300 I'm missing. And she was a friend of mine for many years, but she was sort of siding with the dealer. He was clearly giving her free coke, but what I couldn't get about it was as if I wasn't filling his pockets enough, and then you have to dip into my other money, you know. So I didn't trust her, so I couldn't stay with someone I didn't trust. So I decided to move on, but then we kind of got talking again, and then got friendly. So she wanted me to come over and see her. I went over and seen her. We spent a night, but that second morning I was going to the shop to get some fag papers, you know, because I had a bit of weed. So I was going to roll a couple of joints. And by the time I got back from the shop up the elevator in Motherwell, there was 2 police officers standing. So obviously I immediately thought, well, you know, I've managed to escape it all this time, and then I'm here for not even 24 hours, and the police are here. And they cuffed me. I was literally in a set of jammies as well. So I spent 2 nights in Motherwell cell, and then took me to court. The judge that was dealing with the tag case wasn't in, so I had to go straight to Cottonville. My first night in Cottonville ever will be my last, let's just put it that way. So yeah, the only nice thing I can really say about that place was it had different coloured cell doors that were all pink and purple, all these like wonderful colours, and they had like a nice yellow sweater that you could wear like the jail suit, but the service was terrible. Like, you know, obviously I don't really know what the hell I was expecting, but certainly better than I kind of walked into. You know, I had a toilet in my room and just a sink, and you know, I wanted to shower, you know, I wanted to shave, I wanted to just feel my normal self, you know. And I kept asking the people over the radio, you know, could you send me shampoo? Can you send me up a shaver? I have the right to be clean. They kept saying, yeah. It never happened. And then eventually I called for the final time. I was like, look, can you just please do your job? Like, I'm only asking to be clean. I'm not really asking for much. I says, can you just do your job? And then she says, I'm trying to. And then she shut the speaker off in the room.
What kind of reception did you get, Amira and Nadeem, Cottonville?
Well, actually, to be honest, the women, they were all the women that were dealing with me in there. They were really shocked because they didn't know I was trans, And then when I'd say, well, because I was demanding for the shaver, I was like, I thought I'm going to have to use this part just to get my way. And they were like, well, we didn't know you were trans. And then somebody was going to talk to anybody, but I thought, what the fuck should it matter? I'm only about I just kept thinking, I want a shaver, I want shampoo, I want these things, that I'm used to.
See, when you go out and you back up to court, you talk me through that experience.
Oh, fuck. So comes the second day, ready for court, and I managed to see the jail bottoms, they're no elasticated, so I literally had to sort of use a bit of see off my jammy set. I had to rip 2 bits of string off of that just to sort of elasticate them. Got myself decent enough, but then they came into his cell ready for court, and then they were like, well, just in case you get the day, you can't go with your jail clothes on. And I thought, I've just spent all morning trying to get this right. And then they fucked me into this closet room, and it was just a bunch of clothes that people must have left behind. And the only decent thing to wear was a Christmas sweater, some tacky jeans, and this big long red fucking Santa coat looking thing.
Is that what you want?
And honestly, I've never been so rough looking in my fucking life showing up to this, but I think even the judge felt a wee bit sorry for me.
Were you standing in the dock with that on?
I'd lost my house come this point, so there was definitely no way of me going home. And then an uncle of mine, came to the rescue. He's from the Pakistani side, and he had me living with him very strictly, got me out to the gym, for 4 hours a day, and he would make a couple of joints up for me that I was allowed. He wasn't a drug taker or not even a drinker, but he seemed to know how to deal with my situation. So it started me on a few joints a day, and then I just got myself into that routine, and about 4 months it took to get my head away from the coke, and all that other stuff.
So you were let out on tag again?
No, I wasn't. I basically got bailed to my uncle's address without tag. And
so when did you get the tag put back on?
The 16th of January this year.
And when do you get it off?
The 16th of September this year.
And you've been behaving yourself?
Yes, I have.
Good to hear, Amira. So see, before we finish up on this episode, if you have a message that you could send out to the audience, now is the time.
Well, my message is a bit long, so please forgive me. I just really, it's not just a message for the audience, it's a message for my family as well. I'm so thankful to my mum and everything that she's done for me over the years, putting herself into debt just to give me a good Christmas. And on the other hand, I obviously had my dad financially playing me against her because he had his own businesses. But and then having been disowned, by, the Pakistani side of my families. I'm currently talking with my dad and my immediate family, but not the rest of them. There was also another family that used to take me when I was younger and took me holidays, gave me the best time of my life, but disowned me. I'd found out at a psychic meeting that the person who had called mother for many years was actually dead. I didn't know she was dead. It was a psychic that told me. So if that doesn't reevaluate, life after death, then honestly, because there's no way the man could have known this about me. So I'll never forget the people that I've loved, what they've done for me, even if they don't want nothing to do with me. But what I had to do for myself, I couldn't live unhappy to suit their happiness. I have only got this life once, and I need to live it the way I want to live it. So my message would be to everybody out there watching is just be yourself. Don't choose to live unhappy to suit someone else's happiness, even if you come from a Muslim background like I do. Don't live your life in regret.
Beautiful message, Amira. You've been such an amazing guest.
Thank you.
And you're an amazing person. And I want to thank you so much
for coming on. Thank you so much, Jim.
And I'm sure we'll see you back on the show very, very soon for a part 2.
Good. I look forward to it.
Thanks very much.